students, myself Dr. Divya, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So in this session, you will understand what are the land resources that are available and how they are utilized. So here are the topics. Land resources, what are the resources that are available for the land, how they are available, and the land resources in India, in our country, and the utilization of land in various applications or various purpose. Then composition of soil, how the soil is composing of, then land degradation, how the degradation takes place, and soil erosion of soil and its causes and effects. So what are land resources actually? In direct words, land resources is nothing but the available land or arable land for the mankind. So whatever land that is available for the land that is available on the earth for the mankind is nothing but the natural resource as a land resource. So, land is among the most important natural resources already present in nature. So, it covers about 29% of Earth's surface, and all the parts of land are not habitable. It means all the land cannot be utilized by the mankind, but only 29% of the Earth's surface that covers, and also some of the parts are not habitable or not used for living. So, the uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world is mainly due to varied characteristics of land and climate. So, there are different types of lands that are present. For example, if we take soils, red soil, black soil, so that is how the granule soil and all. So, depending on our habitat, we have to select the land that is present. So, depending on the climate and the land. So what are the land resources that we have in India? So that are approximately 1.3 million square miles and is a cape protruding in the Indian Ocean. So our land or the Indian continent is like it is protruding in the Indian Ocean and is between Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. So it is in the east, Bay of Bengal, and Arabian Sea on the west, and in between we have India and with the Indian Ocean. So we have around an area of 1.3 million square miles. So, Indian land resources are segmented into very relief features. How? Like 43% of land area is plain area. It means it has plain surface, and Indian mountain regions constitute 30%, wherein mountains are about 30% of mountains are present. Himalayas, for example, Himalayas contain mountain regions and higher altitude, so they cannot be used for habitat purposes because we cannot live on that type of land. So then whereas plateau regions are about 27% to the total surface of area present in the nation. It means 27% is like plateaus that are present. These are plains, plateaus and mountain regions present in the overall area of present in the nation. So how these patterns, land use patterns, how we are using this amount of land in different areas, like these are used for the are present available as in the form of forest and land not available for cultivation. So there are also some lands that are not purpose, like they cannot be used for cultivation or cropping, so they are like barren and wasteland. It means the soil may not be fertile to cultivate, and also land put on non-agricultural uses. So non-agricultural uses, how we are going to understand this? For example, livestock or other farming comes under non-agricultural uses, but still are industries. So these are the different types of lands that are available other than for the cultivation. So other uncultivated land, others are also present, wherein permanent pastures and grazing land, so wherein animals graze on these lands. So they are also not in the cultivation field or the cultivation segment. Why? Because if we use these cultivated land or the grazing land together, the animals may graze upon the crops. So our land under miscellaneous tree crops and cultivable wasteland. Wasteland is also present, and net sown land or the agricultural land is present for about percentage of 19.8, 19 point, I mean 52.21%, and also not available for cultivation is 19.9%. So this is the amount of land that we are using for cultivation and non-cultivation lands. Pasture and grazing lands, as we have mentioned, that according to National Sample Survey Organization, which is surveying, so common property land is present with a constitute of about 15% of geological area of India, wherein 23% is community pastures, and grazing lands and 16% have been classified as village forests or woodlands. It is nothing but like there are some community lands. The grazing of animals can be done by community lands. We have seen the ownership divisions where community ownership, where the community group of people will manage this type of lands. So the grazing is also given under these type of lands, wherein that community will be protecting and has the rights on that property. So at another level, India has largest livestock. Livestock is the farming of animals, and population in the world with 485 million head of livestock, many of them raised by small and marginal farmers who generally depend on grazing on lands. It means they allow the animals for grazing on land. So we have to provide them, like the land has to be available for the animals for grazing. So that meets the fodder requirements of their animals. So as the population of both animals and human rises, so as the population increases, for both human and animals, so our wants and needs also increases. So there will be a proportional increase in the competition for food to feed humans and bringing agriculture and livestock production into direct conflict. It means even the animal requires the wants or needs for the food requirements, and also the humans also require our food for the survival. So this is how the conflict arises when the population increases, that directly affects the food requirements. So, as in the form of forests in 2010, the Food and Agriculture Organization of United States estimated that Indian forests cover about 68 million hectares of land. That is also said in like other form, like 24% of country's area. It is like the most of the areas in our country has forests. So if you see this dark color, that has about 75 to 90% of forests in the eastern states. We have lot of forest here, so the habitable place will be low, because the higher altitudes the temperature is very low, and also in the eastern states. So that is why the forest has been developed. So in 2013, Forest Survey of India states its forest cover increased to 69.8 million hectares by 2012. It means like 24% to it has increased like 68 to 69% million hectares by 2012 as per the satellite measurements. So there is an increase in the forest area, in 2012. So this represents an increase of 5,871 square kilometers of forest in 2 years. So the forest area is increasing. However, the gains were primarily in the northern, central and southern Indian states, while northeastern witnessed a net loss of forest cover area over 2010 to 2012. It means like the forest net area in the eastern states have been reduced due to various factors. That could be due to various factors. For the habitational purpose also, we cut down the trees for the reservoirs or dams construction also. So that is how we have witnessed like about some laws in the northeastern states in the 2010 to 2012. So how we are using this land in different forms. So for example, the largest area is used for the agriculture. So we know that agriculture gives us staple food. So agriculture in India as per 2010, as per FAO World Agriculture Statistics, it shows that India's largest producer of many fruits and fresh fruits and vegetables, milk, major spices, select fresh meats and fibrous crops such as jute, several staples such as millets and castor oil seed is from agriculture. So we just have to think like this is a major that we are commodity. We get all the type of commodities from the agriculture. So we have lot of the land that is being used for the agriculture. So India is the second largest producer of wheat and rice in the world's major staple food. It means like we are exporting wheat and rice to other countries as they are the major staple foods for most of our Indians. So uses of land in other form like world second and the third largest producer of several dry fruits. So dry fruits are also cultivated, and agriculture based textile raw materials, for example cotton or synthetic polymer, they get from the rubber. So these are all like we get from the forest. So roots and tuber crops, pulses, farmed fishes and eggs, coconut, sugar cane and numerous vegetables. So these are the worldwidely we are exporting because of our land. Soil composition is very good for some of the crops which cannot be cultivated in other countries. So that is how we are forming India's second and third largest producer for the dry fruits and other agricultural materials. So India ranked within the world's 5 largest producers of over 80% of agricultural produce items, including many cash crops. Cash crops is like revenue generating crops like coffee and cotton. So these are the most widely used because in Western countries, if we see coffee is like just like that, they have coffee for every 1 to 2 hours. So cotton is also used for many of the textile purposes. So we have ranked about 5 largest producers for about 80% of the items are from the India. So India is one of the world's 5 largest producers for the livestock and poultry meat, with one of the fastest growing growth rates as of 2011. So as per the data available in 2011, our India is standing at 5 largest producers of livestock and also fresh meat. So what are the real driving forces behind change or use change? It is just because like we are building houses. So for building houses, we are destroying some of the cultivating land. So barren lands also. So cultivating food also we are using in the food cultivation, developing industries for providing goods and also creating towns or cities. So these are the different types that we are using tremendously the land resources that are present in India. So soil composition, coming to our soil composition, it depends on major components of soil are the mineral materials, organic matter, water and air. These are the major components that are present. So organic matter is about 4%, minerals are the highest percent that is present, about 46%, and then water in the form of moisture. So that is why water is less here. It is about 25% in the soil, and air also 25%. So if we see minerals and nutrients rich soil is the top layer soil that is present. So the soil contains high content of minerals. So if we see, for example, silicon, iron, oxygen, magnesium, aluminium, calcium, sodium and potassium, these are some of the examples for the minerals that are present in the soil. So quartz in the form of Like silicon dioxide in the form of quartz is also present. After mining, we polish and use it for various purposes. And also iron silicates and aluminum silicates. These are very good materials for us in many industries. So these are the mineral elements that are present in the soil. Organic matter, coming to organic matter, came from the residues of plants. Obviously, the most important aspect to remember is the organic matter always comes from the plants, animals, and human beings. So, because of the carbohydrates that are present, so the residues of plants and animals, then organic matter can be crop residues. So crop vegetation during cropping, also the wastage of the crop is also forming an organic matter. Grasses or weeds, then bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms and animals. All these form the organic matter. So why it is only 4%? Because after it decays very frequently, so it forms very thin layer, gets mixed with the soil. So that is why it is only 4%. Then water, it is a good solvent for many nutrients which move into the plant roots. So water is present in the form of moisture in general for the soil. So that is why we have to keep on watering for the plant for the good growth. So air that encourages optimum rate of essential metabolic processes that takes place in organisms. So even in the plant also we air is consumed, that is present in the soil. Then degradation. So we are using land for various purposes. So the degradation obviously takes place. It means there is some destruction happening. So how the destruction is happening? Any change in land that reduces the quality or productivity of referred land degradation is like called as land degradation. Like it will change the quality and productivity of that particular land. For example, if there is a fertile land, that fertility decreases, it means the degradation is happening. So this land degradation results in deterioration of soil or loss of fertility of the soil. Due to urbanization also, this loss of fertility is happening because there is no humus that is forming on top layer of soil for the plant growth because of concrete roads. So this is nothing but is coming under land degradation. So increasing urbanization is nothing but towns and cities, modernization and industrialization are the major causes for the land degradation. So with this we have to also take care like building green buildings or initiatives for the green building so that we increase the fertility of soil also while modernization. So man's progress towards development has considerably damaged land resources. For example, we are building number of floors, concrete building. So we have to also leave space for the open land so that it has the provision to produce a fertile soil. So only when the soil is mixed with new minerals and organic matter, air, moisture, then only the soil will be fertile. So that concept have to come into the progress so that there will be less damage to the land resources. The exponentially growing population in country has put excessive pressure on the land resources. Dwelling land resources is nothing but the usage of land resources, putting into danger the survival of biome as a whole. So because of this excessive use of land resources also, there is a problem of like living all together in the similar land. So why really this land degradation is happening? The major concern is the population. With rapid growth in the population in the country, more and more land is used and is also required for producing food, wood, and fiber and fuel. So this is like we are using, for example, 1 hectare is sufficient for some population, and when the population is increasing, we need 100 hectares of land. So this is how this happens. So thus land resources are overutilized and causing land degradation. So population is forming one of the basic reason for degradation of this land. So when there is a degradation of land, there is no space for living. Obviously, the crops also goes down and the poverty results. So increasing population is one of the reason. Therefore, increasing population is one of the reason, and reduced capturing of land captures is also one of the reason. Incorporation using of marginal lands. So these form some of the reasons for urbanization and modernization of during development. So in the urbanization, what happens? Because of population increase, the urbanization also takes place. They migrate to other places. So urbanization leads to deforestation. It means that we cut down the trees and make it habitable place, which affects millions of plants and animal species. So it means we are also extincting some of the species that are available in India. So rare species like animal species and plant species. Some rare species will be extinct. So this is the reason for the land degradation. Then fertilizers and pesticides is one more land degradation causes. So to improve agriculture productivity, fertilizers and pesticides are used for large scale. So on the contrast, we can use organic pesticides, but however there is during development we are using chemical pesticides and fertilizers on large scale, that is affecting the land resources also. So excess use of these fertilizers and pesticides will pollute. So definitely it will pollute the land and water that is present. So thus the soil gets degraded. It loses fertility. It loses fertility obviously after some generations. So that is how the degradation takes place. And damage to the topsoil. So I have, as I have told earlier, that humus is a very nutrient-rich layer, the top layer of the soil. So increased food production causes damage to the top layer through nutrient depletion. So the humus formation is happens only when there are many trees present, so that the fallen leaves and the grasses, weeds form into humus layer. But whenever there is nothing like that, the nutrient layer will be depleted. That is nothing but the top layer available. So waterlogging. So when there is a degradation in the waterlogging also degrades, the land productivity reduces because of rise in groundwater close or above the soil surface, causing waterlogging. So this is caused because of incorrect irrigation system. So if there is like too much of over exploitation of water also, that will log the water at some places. So that also will drain off or degrade the particular land. Too much of water is also not required for that particular soil. So salinization. So the land degradation is also caused by high concentration of salts present in the soil and intrusion of sea water into the coastal land. For example, we have a coastal area, and this is the sea that is present. For example, if you are digging here for a borewell, we have seen that it will contaminate the water present. Groundwater will be contaminated. In a similar way, the after groundwater, this gets dried up in the summer and the salts will be deposited. Too much of salt will be deposited here. So that is how the soil also gets contaminated with these salts. So other forms of land degradation are the soil erosion. So washing of soil, contamination of soil with industrial waste. So the waste that is generating from the industries has to be recycled properly, otherwise that will contaminate the soil. Overgrazing, the grazing of animals, too many animals grazing on the same land also spoils the land. Then over irrigation on the same land, that also spoils or degrades the land that is present. So what is it? Soil erosion, how is this really harming the land resources? So it is just defined as the displacement of upper layer of the soil, and in itself is also a form of soil degradation. It means there is soil that is present here, layers of soil that is present. So this part will be displaced. It means that is removed due to washing washed off somehow, so that there is soil erosion that causes soil erosion. So this soil erosion very is also a tough causes that causes land resources damage to the land resources. So whenever the top layer of the soil gets continuously eroded by some natural agents like air or water or floods, water in the form of floods, that causes soil erosion. So excessive erosion can be due to overgrazing, deforestation, then mining also affects. So whenever we are mining, the beneath the layers, earth layers are mined through drilling. So we are taking out, these are the rocks that are formed, the soil that is formed is available. So we are mining some materials from this. There is a big gap that is forming here. So this gap that is produced whenever there is some pressure through wind or water, it gets washed off easily. So that has scope for washing off easily, because there is always a space that is formed due to mining. So the agents of soil erosion are majorly due to water and wind. So there are different types of erosions that are present. So they are like sheet erosion caused by water. So sheet erosion is the erosion that occurs fairly over a surface of area. So as raindrops loosen the soil, so when it is raining, that will loosen the soil particles. So the surface water runs off, can transport the top soil in the uniform fashion, almost like a bed sheet sliding off on a bed. It means like, see, if we see this picture, there is removal of this part of soil. So this is just because of the rain that is dissolving the soil or loosening the soil particles, and also removing like a bed sheet in a uniform fashion. So this can be subtle, that it might not be noticed until unless we go for further details, like until much of the valuable top layer is washed away. It means this is like for the agricultural lands, the top layer is very important, that contains nutrients. So we will not notice until there is some effect on the crops. So if a farmer heads out of his field and sees an accumulation of soil and crop residue at one end of his soil, he will be worried because of this sheet erosion. So this soil will be going and depositing at some other place. So that is how we understand that there is some sheet erosion happen in the field, and that is like a variable rate. Next is the rill erosion. So this erosion that results in a small, short-lived and well-defined streams. So like this, the water coming or the wind, mainly caused by water only, like they cause a small lane-like thing. So they will be eroding the soil that is present. So they form, and when soil rainfall does not soak into the soil, this can gather on the surface and run downhill, forming small channels. So this is how the channels are also called as rills. So these are the channels formed due to washing away of soils. So this is called as rill erosion. So you can in fact remember the jogger, if you remember a little run, some rhyme that they will down, they are sliding from a hill. So in the hill area, generally this happens like there is a water coming from this hill with utmost pressure. They come and forms channels here and forming the rill erosion. So a rill will dry up after the rainfall, but you may see still the stream bed that was created by the temporary stream. So this is how these are available. Again, they can again come back to their position, but still we see that stream. So gully erosion can be thought as an advanced rill erosion, that a bigger channel will be forming because of a lot of water. So in fact, these are like they will grow into larger gullies. So if we see this, there is a large amount of soil that is washed off. Soil washed off. So you can imagine like how much pressure is put on this soil, that so that the deeper hill channel is forming. So that is why there is also an effect of floods on these land resources. So gully erosion can spell big problems for farmers, especially for farmers. So because the affected land is not able to be used for growing crops again, and also big ditches create a hazard for the farmers driving his farm machineries through the fields. So definitely the farmer cannot grow or cultivate any crops because of these ditches forming. So he cannot run the machinery into these ditches and cultivate. So this is a big spell for that particular farmer. So affecting this crop and cultivation. Bank erosion is like in the rivers, like river banks. It happens at the river banks, wherein water erosion is also the rivers of the stream or waterway. So surface water runs off towards the lowest level due to gravity. So whenever there is a flow of water that runs to the low lying areas because of gravity. So therefore low-lying streams, rivers and even constructed drainage channels collect these runoff water. So however, over time this activity keeps on going on, and the natural forces will wear down this layer of land. So due to pressure that is coming from upper area, there is a pressure created on the land and then gets washed off. So this is how the bank erosion takes place. So likewise, other types of erosion, bank erosion needs to be managed. Otherwise, it can reduce productive farming and also pose a threat to the constructional integrity of roads. So this also causes problem to the roads, because if there is an adjacent road here, the road also gets damaged. Then the slip erosion generally happens in the mountains, wherein is a natural disaster that causes the land of the higher altitude or area to slip and fall on a lower surface. So if this is a mountain or hill, so there is a possibility for falling down and blocking the road, wherein due to because of natural reasons that comes under natural disaster blocking roads. So this is a mass movement or slope movement by which rock, soil move down slope, mainly under the force of gravity, that fall onto the adjacent area. So the phenomena of landslide is also known as slip erosion. So it is slipping, the rock or the soil that is present is slipping down the hill area and falling onto the lower lying area. So this occurs due to heavy rainfall on the slopes of hills and mountains. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.